So I went to the No More Assholes in the Newsroom. Um, the speaker was Kevin Benz. He warned us before that if you were offended by the word asshole, that you should probably leave because this is probably not the presentation for you. I'm going to try to keep my use of the word at a minimum, but I don't know how successful I'll be because the presentation was called No More Assholes in the Newsroom. But he first started out with a quote that said, "Life is too short and precious to spend it surrounded by assholes." That's a quote by Robert Sutton in his book, The No More Asshole Rule. He then talked about statistics of who's being bullied at the workplace. 28% of people feel like they have been bullied. 19% of those people have left their job because of the bullying. Then he breaks it down a little bit further and said that 79% of disabled workers felt bullied. 54% of LGBT workers have felt bullied. 40% of African American workers have felt bullied, and 36% of Hispanic workers have felt bullied. About half of those workers have actually confronted the bullied. Only 1/3 of those bullied workers reported the issue to the HR department, and 19% of those workers say that the incidents occurred in a group setting, which he kind of elaborated a little bit more about that. He said that people who do the bullying will usually bully the person in like a group setting of about 4 or 5 people. It's not just going to be one-on-one. He said that the group dynamic helps push the bullying tendencies. He then moved on to what we need to make sure we are thinking about when we are in the newsroom. He says, do not yell at each other. He says, respect each other. This is how you should be acting when you are in the newsroom, or any work setting for that matter. And then he goes on to elaborate more. He says, our newsroom, not my newsroom, which he kind of put that, he kind of kept mentioning that. He always says, we need to make sure we are calling it our newsroom and not using just saying my newsroom, because this is a group thing. He says journalism is a team sport. Start thinking about the us, the we, and the everyone. Then he says talks about the no asshole rule a little bit more. We will not tolerate assholes in our newsroom. We will not tolerate bullying, no backhanded compliments, no drama, no gossiping, and not being a team player. These are all just things that don't help when you are in a group dynamic, when you are working together, when you are under these stressful environments. Just all these unnecessary things don't help at all. Then he goes on to talk about why it matters that we don't do these things. Just being a jerk in the newsroom poisons the culture. Victims are going to be a little less productive, unhappy, and exhibit no loyalty. They'll take the stress home with them and infect their families with it. The 5-to-1 rule, negative interactions hold 5 times more effect than positive ones. So it'll take 5 compliments throughout the day to just get rid of one negative thing said by a coworker. So just kind of take that in consideration next time you are stressed out and you say something that you don't really mean. You just need to kind of think about what you are saying, because like he said, one negative thing will stick with that person throughout the rest of the day, and it takes 5 compliments to even get back to where they were before that. If you find yourself with a jerk in the newsroom, you need to make sure you step back, just look at it, see what's going on with them. Sometimes these people don't mean it, but yeah, you just need to make sure you take a step back, see what's going on with them. Usually they're not like this, but just take a step back. Number 2, jerks are going to rob the company of talent. The number one reason people leave the workplace is that their immediate supervisor is not nice to them. Employees with an abusive supervisor will quit at accelerated rates, and they ruin the newsroom's reputation. And if you have a bad reputation, you're not going to have future employees want to come to you. Number 3, assholes are just expensive. Victims have reduced productivity in the newsroom and increase in their absence at the newsroom. So more people are like, well, I just was yelled at by a coworker yesterday. Do I really want to come in today and experience that same thing again today? I think maybe I'll just take a sick leave today. So that's what a lot of people's thoughts are in the newsroom. If they're just dreading their job, dreading the people that they work with, they're just like, I'm not going to come into work tomorrow because I have 5 more sick leaves for this month or something. Victims who do leave because of jerks in the newsroom need to be replaced. So that's a lot of training fees, a lot of recruitment and hiring fees that they have to just go through that they're just losing time with. And then there is harassment lawsuits that can happen in the newsroom. Legal costs and settlement fees. Everyone, like I said, newsrooms are high-stress environments, and a lot of people struggle. So you need to make sure that you help people out when you're doing that. Coach people what to do and not what not to do. So he kind of talked about that a little bit more. He said, usually people don't know what to do. And by saying, don't do that, it's not helping anybody out. You need to make sure that you are telling people what they need to make sure they're doing. So if someone messed up on a script, don't just say, don't put that in there next time. Tell them what they need to be putting in place of that. Help them out a little bit more because they usually do not know what they're supposed to be doing. Another thing you need to make sure you're doing is using positive reinforcement. Treating people the way you need to be treated is a very huge thing with dealing with people, especially in a group setting, because there are so many of you, and one day you could be yelling at somebody, but the next day, what if those people are yelling at you back? Would you really want to have to go through that? No. So just treat people the way you want to be treated. He then talks about certain different types of jerks in the newsroom. There is the temporary asshole. They look and act like all of us. They are our friends. Like I said, people are in stressed out environments, so they usually aren't themselves when they're super stressed. So sometimes they can be jerks. These are people that aren't around all the time. Everybody can be an asshole at certain times. Just need to be patient with them. They're not going to be like that tomorrow, hopefully. Then there is the certified asshole. They are displayed at a persistent and demeaning pattern with a trail of victims in their wake. Their victims feel oppressed and humiliated all the time. So these are people that are just jerks all the time. They don't have a good reputation. Nobody wants to work with them. Just nobody likes them. Those are the people we don't want in our newsroom. More advice with dealing with bullying. You should make sure you're confronting people. Make sure that you're using positive confrontation, not just yelling at them right back at you. You just want to be positive with it. There's a statistic that he used that half of those who do confront the bully experience positive interactions right after that. So using phrases like, I don't appreciate that, or telling them, I feel humiliated by that, those are going to help you in the long run instead of just yelling right back at them. What you can do if other people are being bullied in the newsroom, report those people that are doing the bullying to managers. So just making sure that you are helping those out. You don't want those in the newsroom, so you need to report those to your managers, your HR department. He talked about the newsroom culture. Whether or not you think you're a jerk in the newsroom is less important than what others think. Using we and us, don't yell at each other. Employ the virtues of moral respect. Deal with jerks will motivate other people to deal with jerks. So be that change in the newsroom and confront somebody right away. there's probably a lot more people in the newsroom that are being bullied by other people or feel like they're being bullied. So you doing that, you being the change and confronting someone, reporting it to somebody, it will start a chain reaction, and other people will start doing the same exact thing. And just learning confrontation techniques. And then there's some tips for survival still. Hope for the best. Expect the worst in the newsroom. You're always going to have somebody that you don't like, but you just got to deal with it sometimes. If it gets, like I said, if it gets to a point where you can't handle it anymore, that's when you need to start reporting it to people. Even if it's way before that, you can still report that. Saying confront them first, doesn't work, then go to your manager or HR department. Develop an emotional disattachment. Learn to just not care anymore. There's always going to be people that are out there who's going to criticize you, especially in the newsroom, where if you go into broadcasting, you're going to be on air, and there's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are going to watch and hear you every day. So you just need to learn to not really care what other people say about you. Finding small wins about yourself. If you did something that's super, super, super great, praise that, celebrate that. You earned it. And limit your exposure. So build pockets of safety, and again, report the bully when you can. All right. Yeah, that's it.